Pope appealing for peace, or was he praying for peace?
And the same applies to the carry on drag.
Yeah, that's a good question. So what do you have to say about that, guys? Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to the latest edition of Global Atheist News Review, where we have the following panel members to discuss this week's news. Guy Otten from the Manchester area. Tersia from South Africa.
Good evening.
David from Manhattan.
Hello.
And Esther from the Birmingham area. Welcome, guys. Thank you very much for joining me to give your wit and wisdom about the way religion has impacted humanity over the last 7 days. So, item number 1. Iran. They've executed a man in the first known execution linked to the protests that have swept the country since September, and state media actually reported this. The poor guy was called Moza Shikari, and he was reportedly convicted of waging war against God. I'm not sure whether God was aware of this, but what he was actually alleged to have done is stabbed a member of the Basij paramilitary force at a protest. But spectators said there was no stabbing. He just blocked the traffic. So, what's happened to Guy? Guy has disappeared. Oh dear, his connection's broken. So what do you think of that?
I just wonder, why did the Iran government have to execute him, and why didn't God execute him himself on the spot?
Right.
Good point.
I mean, a God that you can wage war against. I mean, how do you wage war against God? You know, I don't know how this happens, and if at all he has done anything wrong, just as Tersia said, why can't God just take care of him by himself? He doesn't need you all to just lynch the man. You don't need that. It's heartbreaking. My heart breaks, I tell you.
Yeah. Well, you're right. You're right, Esther. If God is invisible, then I can't see how he can do anything or have anything done to him. Because, it's like fighting a ghost, waging war on a ghost.
The trouble is that governments, like the Iranian government, fight on behalf of a ghost that nobody can see. And the danger in that is that if nobody can see the God that you are fighting, that your enemy is fighting against, then I think what really happens is that the rules of the people fighting on behalf of so-called the said God, their rules are the rules that are being enforced, and they're getting a blanket pardon almost by the believers, because yes, they have to do this, and that's the danger.
Yes, I see the executioners as the criminals in this. And Frank says Frank is not coming on screen because he's a bit poorly, but he says it sounds to me mighty 1984-ish. You don't argue with that.
Isn't it a remarkable coincidence that it just so happens that the theocratic power brokers that run the country share the exact same opinion as God? It's almost remarkable how that happens, isn't it?
I don't know how they do it. Guy, you keep disappearing.
I keep.
Are you God? You keep going invisible. And now you've gone frozen. Oh dear.
One
But
would say, but
the thing is, if there were troubles already, would this not just make things completely go pear-shaped? Would this not make people even more angry? And we not try, well, at people, at the government in Iran, are they not trying to quell people's anger and people's frustrations? But by
Yeah,
doing this, won't
yeah.
they do the opposite?
Yes, they're
mm,
just going to antagonize the friends and relatives of the man they've executed.
Right.
It's not going to work,
Or
is it?
are they trying to just pass a message across to the people that, if you don't behave, this is what will happen to you?
Yeah,
Is this like
that's what.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens in most repressive regimes. Just a day or two ago, I think this was right after the execution, cars were burning, trash. People were burning right in the middle of a highway in Iran to protest.
Mm,
So, you might be trying to send a message. But the point is that the message is not being received. That is
mm,
the veil of a very real violence against you for speaking out for your
mm,
human rights
yeah,
is no longer a threat when people realize that when you ain't got nothing, you got nothing to lose.
yeah,
mm.
that's right. Well,
Hmm.
it wasn't just Iran. You'll be pleased to hear
Right.
that the Taliban are having a go at the same thing.
Right.
They not only convicted a man of murder under dubious circumstances, but they got the victim's father to shoot him in a public execution in a crowded sports stadium. And that's the Taliban for you.
Just-
They
Well,
said they said the father of the victim shot the man 3 times, and dozens of the Taliban leaders attended the shooting. It's just Middle Ages stuff, isn't
this
it?
is the 12th century.
Mm,
This is this is uh, to think that there are enough of us humans to be able to actually think about going to the stars and seeing the world as it is, and there's like there's a billion people who
mm,
perhaps don't have faith, yet we're still dealing with a contingent of our own species
yes.
that has only affirmed the darkest, most medieval ideas of how humans are supposed to act and live
Yeah.
under the threat of violence. And it's always religion that is the culprit at the bottom of the
Yeah.
saucer.
And as you
I got
point out, on the opposite side of things, recent moonshot that orbited the moon has
Yeah,
just landed.
Artemis.
Just
Artemis.
Hmm.
yeah, that's the one. Yeah, it
but
just
Mhm.
landed. Got back.
so we have Artemis landing on the moon, and we know so much more about the human brain. Now know that type of violence is even more dangerous than previously suspected, because
Mhm.
anybody who views that type of violence, especially if they are young children, research has shown that the younger one is when exposed to that type of violence,
Yeah.
the trauma of that
Mhm.
basically changes your brain. And
Mm,
Mhm.
I might be wrong, but I think in the 80s, when the Taliban was also in control, they actually forced people to view these executions.
yeah.
So
Mm,
they
Mhm.
would round people up and force them to
mm,
view these public executions,
mm.
and
Mhm.
it really damages one's brain, especially if you. So it's not only the person who's committing the violence and the person the violence is being committed to. It's also those who witness
The
this
audience.
violence, because the more
Yes.
violence
Yes.
Mm,
you witness, the less it impacts on you, and
yes.
Mhm.
the more readily you will perpetrate violence.
Mm. Well, this
I,
has
Mhm.
come
I
about.
feel I feel
Sorry.
that
Yes.
it's So you're trying to beat the people into submission. You're
Mm.
trying to. How do you get a parent to shoot their own
Yeah.
child 3 times?
Mm.
Now, just yesterday, I was talking to someone from India, and they were talking about these honor killings, right?
Mm.
And our
Mm.
parents are the ones that feel the need to take out the child for their honor, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
How you can get a parent to take out a child on behalf, this is all God, right? They're
Mm.
doing it for God
Mm.
and for the honor of their, I don't know, maybe it's their reputation, maybe it's their
Mm-hmm.
standing in society, but it's God usually at the center of it all. This is what this gentleman said.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get a parent to when they feel the need, it's the parents. It's not,
Yeah.
they're not pressured into doing it. The
Mm.
parents are the ones who go and do it themselves.
Yes.
And when he was talking, it just reminded me so much of the story of Abraham in the Bible,
Yeah. Yeah.
when God requested of Abraham to go and kill his own child
Mm. Mm.
Mm-hmm.
as a test.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. It's exemplified in the Bible, so no wonder people copy it.
Right.
But surely there's nothing less honourable than killing your own child.
Hmm.
Right.
This has come about because the supreme leader, Haibatullah Akhundzada, last month issued an edict ordering their judges in Afghanistan to impose punishments, including public executions. They've just shown that they're willing to go ahead, public amputations, and stonings, not to mention public floggings, several of which have happened recently. So, what a lovely place that's turning out to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Just very,
I,
just
It's such a
very
failure of the human.
demoralizing.
Yeah.
Very
Mm.
demoralizing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a complete failure of the individual and collective imagination of people to not only not want to change, but to enforce, archaic views on a world that is bursting with energy related to how much more we know, and it only makes it not exotic, but violently strange to think that there are people who are still like this,
Yes.
that we haven't moved past in our own infancy as a species.
Yeah.
Some of us have, a lot of us have,
Mm.
but there are lots of people who haven't, and
Yeah.
we have to be reminded of that. And it should serve as a very chilling reminder,
Mm.
that we shouldn't take what we have in the West
Yeah.
for granted.
Well,
Can I
yeah.
can I can I just say, when you talk about in the West, we still have there are troubles in the West. Just
Oh,
yes,
it's
just
not perfect,
yesterday, just
right?
yesterday, I did a show and just looking at the troubles in Northern
Hmm.
Ireland.
Yeah.
Hmm.
This
Hmm.
has been an ongoing battle between two
Hmm.
sects of one religion. So
Yes.
this is not different religions going at each other. No,
Mm.
it's one religion,
Mm.
Christianity,
Yeah.
but the Catholics versus the uh, the Protestants,
Yeah.
and the religion now and politics. They've all just
Yes.
intertwined,
Hmm.
Mm.
right?
Hmm.
And what was so heartbreaking to see and to watch is that divide,
Yeah.
that division that has been created to
Yes.
separate the two.
Yes.
It's heartbreaking. And
Yes.
so
Hmm.
when the West think that they want to, you think, oh, we've got it all together. They
Mm.
still got some of their own problems too.
Right.
It's true.
I
Right.
don't
Yes.
I don't know, John, if you saw
Yeah.
the the poll results that's showing that the UK is becoming less and less religious.
I did. Yes. In
That
fact, I
now
I did
less
a
people.
podcast on this that you weren't able to attend this morning on
Yes,
behalf
yes,
of Atheism UK.
yes.
So that's actually up on the Atheism UK channel, and you can see what we had to say about that very census result. But you're right. In Belfast, there is a physical wall down the middle of the city. It's a bit like a Berlin Wall, but it's in Belfast, and it's just to keep two factions of the same religion apart. Ridiculous. Anyway, you'll be pleased to hear that the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, has been doing some designating. He's designated Pakistan, China, Russia, and Saudi Arabia as religious freedom violators, labeling them countries of particular concern. So, what do you think about that?
Countries of particular concern. What's concerning about them?
I'm very happy that he's doing. I mean, I think we need democracies to call out religious discrimination and misbehavior wherever it is, and we tend to tolerate a lot of it, as legitimate, extraordinary, but when it's other countries, it's perhaps a bit easier to see than when it's happening under your nose in your own country.
Right. If I could say, I think you're spot on, because those are easy shots to make. When you look in the United States and you see that in the last few months, women's right to reproductive freedom was taken down by the Supreme Court, basically because of religious people who serve on the Supreme Court saying that abortion should no longer be legal. When you have cases like Hobby Lobby, or there's a case right now in front of the Supreme Court about someone who doesn't want to, because it violates her religious beliefs, doesn't want to make a website for a gay couple. And it says that the question in front of the court, and there's already a feeling that they're going to go with this person's quote unquote religious freedom versus the human and civil rights of this couple to be treated fairly and amicably like any other couple. Is that we have and Esther, to your point, far to go still in the US as well, because it's not we're not executing people for being gay, but we're sort of allowing quote unquote religious liberty to come before people's human and civil rights.
Religious privilege.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Well, it's not just those countries that Antony Blinken has been designating, which is obviously a step in the right direction, but we want to see firmer action. He's also designated entities of particular concern, and one of which is the Wagner Group, because of its activities in the Central African Republic. And he's also in the list of entities of particular concern is the Taliban, Boko Haram, and Al-Shabaab, and the two separate factions of the Islamic State group. So attention is being brought to these anti-humanitarian organizations.
That's good news.
Yeah.
I think more and more people need to do this, to highlight the problems with these factions and these concerning ideologies. That's the way forward.
Definitely in the right direction. So going to Indonesia, which of course is a Muslim majority archipelago of different islands and countries. Their parliament has recently approved it's not come to actual enactment yet as a law, but they've approved for consideration to their parliament a new criminal code that bans anyone from having extramarital sex. And this applies to anyone in the country. So if you visit there, you count. So watch it, because
well, I mean, I read an article on this, and I got the impression that the required level of evidence is quite high. I mean, you have to be reported by your own parents or by a spouse or something like this. So it's actually that if you're visiting, for instance, as a holidaymaker, you're not likely to
don't take your parents.
Don't take your parent or your spouse.
So I was wondering how they're going to find out who's having sex or not. I was thinking, are they going to put like a meter or something on people's private parts, or I don't know, some form of device?
Yeah. Well, you're absolutely
right. So, but to hear that is the parents that would be doing the reporting, So I was telling somebody, I said that, well, now a lot of people, those people who, when they have sex, like to be very overly noisy, like in the heat of the passion, they're very, expressive. I said, times like this, you just have to shut it or something. I don't know.
Yourself.
And do you realize that not only is it about sex, but also you cannot insult the president. Is it the president or is it prime minister or president? They've got in there. You can't insult them. You cannot speak evil about it's political policies. There are other things as well that have been passed alongside that particular law in this bill.
Thou shalt not criticize me. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So you're right. It says, under the laws, it says unmarried couples caught having sex. I don't know how, but it doesn't specify that. But if you're
monitor, they're going to put a monitor.
If you're caught by a peeping Tom having sex, then you can be jailed for a year. So you've been warned.
Well,
but there, I probably this law is passed on as so much as a morality clause, but there is a lot of sex tourism, and there is a lot of violence against women in states where young children are made to become prostitutes for the titillation of outsiders, and so this might be
that's the motivation, isn't it?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Well, I've got to tell you guys, unfortunately, that Thunder and Lightning has wrought havoc with Tersia's connection. So she's saying that Zeus has spoken. Yeah. And Ty's joining us. Hello, Ty. Happy birthday.
Hey, happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
I didn't know it's your birthday. Happy birthday.
What's up?
I hope you enjoyed your lunch.
I sure did.
Oh,
We had a wonderful time out. And now I'm with more
25
friends.
again?
I'm with even more friends. It's great. What's up?
Happy birthday.
25 again?
Funny story. I actually became the age that I thought I was all last year. So like when I looked up online how old I was like, what? I thought that I was that age now. It's like, so I get to relive this year again. I'm immortal. It's great.
I'm going to go and have a look. You know how old Dr. Ty is?
I can tell you right now, I'm 37.
I'm nosy. How much?
I'm 37.
Gosh, you make me feel old.
He's not 37. I'll spill the beans if you're not well behaved, Ty.
Okay.
Frank is in backstage and he's saying hi, Ty.
Hey,
so nice to see you. Frank? Now I'm going to screen. I'm going to screen a little video that I'd like your considered response to, because it's a thorny issue. take a look at this. This is Victorian, the Premier of the Australian state of Victoria. See what you think about this.
Finally, we think it is important as part of an education process that everyone across our state knows about the works of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It's very important that his teachings, his life, his journey is understood by so many people. That's why we'll provide a $500,000 grant to the Islamic Museum in partnership with the Board of Imams and also the Islamic Council of Victoria to develop a program to educate, to share those teachings, that wisdom. This is part of a comprehensive plan to do what matters. Investing in our multiculturalism, supporting our multi-faith communities, and acknowledging this central truth that Victoria's Muslim community are about family, they're about faith, and they're about hard work. Generous, fantastic Victorians, and we need to stand with them, and we always will.
Wow, that's a lot of money. Okay.
Yeah, to the tune of $500,000 Australian dollars. So what do you think? Is that a legitimate use of tax money?
Yeah, it's a shame it couldn't be put into schools. Sorry for interrupting. I didn't raise my hand up.
Yeah. Mm.
What a thing to spend money on. You could have done it on Spider-Man lore.
Yeah.
The difficulty is we would approve of multicultural subject matter in teaching, but we probably wouldn't approve of giving money to a faith to develop lessons.
Correct.
Right.
And my thought on this is like, it's sometimes better to hear. So you might be thinking, well, who else will be better suited to teach Islam than someone who's in Islam? And it's like, I totally hear that. But sometimes it's like when I'm trying to buy a car, I don't go to Chevrolet's website to learn the best reviews of that car. Like I'm going to try to go to a third objective party, a third party that is objective that can tell me, here's this car, here's that car, here's these cars under a criteria that you can look at yourself and get a true assessment of which of these is good and bad for different reasons. But if you were to give $500,000 to Islam, does that mean every other faith gets the same amount of money so that they can spend their God in the best way? Or if you really want to teach multiculturalism, maybe there could just be an objective program that we spend money into, like a secular focused one that doesn't have its horse in the race, and it could just be like, you can do this school, you can do this class to learn about all the religions, all the faiths, and be accepting of them as people and understand the tenets of their philosophy. Like, couldn't that be something we could all jointly fund together in that interest, instead of just giving money to one group and being like, we love these people, we want to teach this faith? It's like, what a shame you use the tax money.
When I was watching the video, it seemed more like a hostage video. Yeah, we're going to give you this money, because we trust you. You're hardworking people.
Here's me shaking hands with somebody. Please,
right, exactly.
Money over soon, please.
And a baby. You've got to have a baby, haven't you?
Yeah. I mean, I get that, and I agree with Ty. I mean, there's nothing wrong with respecting people for who they are and what they bring to the table as migrants, as immigrants, or whatever. They're in a multicultural society, especially in a secular one like in Australia. It should almost go without saying. So I understand to want to combat racism. But to do it in this type of way seems like not only a waste of secular tax dollars, but it also is setting a very bad precedent for perhaps other governments that might want to try to do the same thing.
If I was the leader of any other religion in Victoria, I would be holding out my hand saying, "Where's my $500,000?"
I mean, in the U.S., we have this thing called the Office of Faith-Based Initiatives that was actually started under the George Bush II to literally give money to religious-based organizations to do social work, in essence. And I think that itself is a real violation of the separation of church and state. in the United States. I thought under President Obama, who I absolutely loved and deeply respected, that he would stop that. He actually gave more money to the thing, and it continues. Of course, it continued under Trump, and it continues under Biden, and it's again tax dollars that are going to faith-based organizations to quote unquote fill the gap where offices of social work and stuff can't be, but in reality, it's going to fill in for indoctrination. You don't really know. That money is like a rat hole in a way.
Right. I think we will be marked by future generations of this era, if we make it that far, as like this being the era of mental poison or bad critical thinking. Like here's the time when humans first made it onto space. Here's when they visited other continents for the first time. This is when they left their religion and they like embraced a more objective way of thinking about reality, like culturally. And these videos that we produce, these ones that we archive, will be looked at as like, no, not all human beings were trapped in their dogma. We clearly have examples of like this majority that's slowly growing. But yes, it's good that we can at least be comfortable having these kinds of conversations, and we need to continue to have them.
For me, it's this idea that these people consider their God to be the creator of the universe, intelligent designer. Nothing can go wrong with him. He's perfect, but somehow needs other people to do the legwork for him. Needs people's money. Needs people to contribute. Needs people to give aid. Right? For some reason, he just never has his own money. Right? But he can. But he creates universes. He creates. He's such a an awesome creator. I don't understand it. I don't understand it.
He's just got
he just can't handle money, as George Carlin used to say. He just can't handle money.
Yes, that's right.
He needs an accountant.
It's weird.
Not even Bitcoin.
Sorry,
an actual. Oh, I was saying it's weird because an actual king. It makes sense why they need money, because they have to form militias, protect everybody from everyone else. And it's like, if we all group up together, we can find anybody who tries to come after us, but we're going to need a leader and a general, and that's going to cost money. Logistics cost money. These meetings cost money. So I need a little bit from everybody so that we're all in the same team together. But God, like, who are you fighting against? Like, you're already the number one most powerful. You created even the bad guys. Like, why do you need my money? What's going on here? I don't understand. It's like, well, I just need 10%. That's more than the king is asking me for. Tax rate in the US is like 2%. What is the sales tax that we're talking about?
Yes.
Flat 10%, everybody.
Well, here's your chance to laugh at England.
Oh no, this never happened. All right, I'm on mute.
Because a junior research fellow doing a PhD at Trinity College, Cambridge, which is an English Anglican college, theocratic college, I guess.
No, I don't think it is.
No? Is it not?
No.
Well,
Trinity College, it was an Anglican foundation, but I wouldn't say it's a theocratic college.
Okay.
Anyway, carry on. I stand to be corrected about that.
Well, me too. Yes. Yeah. Anyway, what he's done, he's doing a PhD in theology of some sort, and he has displayed Renaissance and medieval paintings of the crucifixion, depicting a side wound to the body of Jesus. And he's done this from the pulpit in some church, and he's likened the wound to a vagina. And based on that, he's claimed that Jesus had a trans body. And this has caused such an eruption that one worshipper left the service in tears and got in touch with the dean, the next level up in the hierarchy, and he's complained You offered to speak with me afterwards, but I was too distressed. I'm contemptuous of the idea that by cutting a hole in a man through which he can be penetrated, he can become a woman. I'm especially contemptuous of such imagery when it is applied to our Lord from the pulpit at evensong. I'm contemptuous of the notion that we should be invited to contemplate the martyrdom of a trans Christ. This is a new heresy for our age.
I love it because it's silly, but also Jesus Christ, long flowing hair depicted, nice cut cheekbones, loved to hang out with the boys, turned away female prostitutes left and right.
He wore dresses. Don't forget.
He loved gowns, and not just any gowns, but gowns with the red sash. Guy could coordinate. I'm just saying, guy would rock it. Guy would rock it in 2020s. He'd be like, come on, guys, let's go have some fun. I'm so cool. I walk on water. It's like, hell yeah, you do. Let's go, Jesus. Let's go. All the magic powers he has, all he does is make more wine. Like, you have to think about it. There's dots worth connecting here, but I'm just saying it's not trans, not gay, or anything like that. But the guy's fabulous. That's all my final point is.
Well, he's been backed up. He's been backed up. The Dr. Michael Banner, the Dean of Trinity, has said it's legitimate to think that Jesus might be transgender. And the PhD that he's studying for, this young man, Joshua Heath, it is being supervised by the former Archbishop of Canterbury, Rowan Williams. And he's been heard saying, I don't know whether this is Rowan Williams' quote here, but I've got a quote from somebody here that says, I think it's from the Dean. It says, in Christ's simultaneously masculine and feminine body in these works, the paintings, if the body of Christ, as these works suggest, the body of all bodies, then his body is also the trans body. Oh, it's the researcher that said that. So there you go.
It's dubious whether or not Christ even existed.
Yes.
You know, I mean, the historical evidence for this particular individual, is rather dubious. We know that the Gospels were written 100 years after the events of the crucifixion, if they even occurred. So the idea that, well, what? Hey, Christ could be Shiva for all, you know what I mean? you can have your Christ any way you want. There's already 2,000 denominations of Christianity. So if you're going to have an idolatry, which is formerly pagan, and have someone on a cross or whatever, make it transgender, make it an elephant, make it whatever, because it's all magic anyway.
Yes, well, I like that idea because, you know, what does it take to be a stereotypical cis man back in the Mesopotamian Bronze Age? If you're a man, you are a carpenter. That's what Joseph was trying to instill in Jesus. Like, we got to build stuff. We're carpenters. And Jesus is like, nah, I want to talk and I want to sing and I want to do something. So it's like, this kid is going to cause me a lot of problems. I'm like, you think about it from very young to old. Like, that kid was just causing problems everywhere. It's just like, but maybe he was just trying to like connect with like something else, and like makes sense to me. Why don't we throw it in the basket?
Well, Frank from Backstage has plagiarized John McEnroe, who of course famously said, "You cannot be serious." So there you go.
I mean, that was the point. That was the point I was going to make. It sounds a bit like a desperate attempt, publicity to a dwindling bunch of believers.
And on that note, I will call proceedings to a close. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. I've thoroughly enjoyed tonight, as always. Say bye-bye.
Happy birthday again.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Bye.
Thank you.
Several clergy.
Was the Pope appealing for peace, or was he praying for peace?
And the same applies to the carry-on drag.
Yeah, that's a good question. So what do you have to say about that, guy?